Hey everyone.
Hello, hello.
We're just going to give it a couple of minutes for everyone to kind of roll in. But thanks for hopping in. Today we're just going to be talking about really how to set up your reply accounts and how to start your outreach. So I'm Stephanie. I'm the director of our client success team, and we have Josh here today, who is one of our client success managers. So yeah, we're going to walk you through it. And like I said, we'll just give it a couple of extra minutes for everyone to join. And for those of you who don't know, today is Josh's second day back from vacation. So
Mhm.
he's
Forgive
I'm sure you're still
forgive
kind of
me if
easing
I keep
into things.
yawning. Forgive me
Yeah,
if I keep yawning. I'm still recovering from my break,
yeah.
so I'll try
He's
my
slowly
best.
just like easing into being back at work. So yeah,
Hmm. I'll do
we'll
my
take it
best.
slow today for you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm.
So Josh, how was your vacation?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Just time to relax,
Hmm.
reconnect. Got to cuddle the dog.
That's always nice. That's
Yeah,
always nice.
nothing super exciting, just kind of relaxing. So can't complain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, sometimes it's nice just to kind of take that time off and just to unwind and
Reset.
just exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. All
Absolutely.
right. Well, I think we can, kick it off. So today's session is being recorded. So if anyone hops in late, we're going to send that recording out to everyone who registered to come today. And then you can also check out the session on Reply's YouTube page. So we have you covered. So let's dive right in. So like I said, I'm Stephanie. This is Josh. We're going to be walking you through really how to set up your Reply account today, so you can start your outbound. So we're going to walk you through some really important settings that you should know about. And then Josh is going to kind of take it away. He's going to walk you through creating your sequences, and then also diving into some really exciting AI features that we've rolled out in the last few months. So that's something that we're really excited to share with you guys. And these AI features, they just make it really easy for you to personalize your sequences, which is going to be key when you're reaching out to your prospects. So I'm gonna kick it off. I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. So this is my reply account. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna show you guys how to connect your email account for sending. And like I said, walk you through some really important settings there that you need to pay attention to. So I'm just gonna go over to settings right here. And I do apologize if things on my end are a bit slow. I live in a small town and they're actually digging up they're digging up the ground to put in like the fiber optic lines for internet. So it's been kind of up and down. So I apologize if things are a bit slow on my side.
They're stealing the
All right,
internet.
they are. Hopefully it gets better, but you have to deal with this in the meantime. Okay, so I'm just in email accounts. So really depending on the subscription that you have, you either have access to one sending account or two or five. It just really depends on what subscription you've purchased. I'm gonna add a new email account and it's actually quite simple. So I'm just gonna go to new email account up in the top right corner. I'm just going to click confirm to purchase a new email account. And so these are your options right here. So if you are using Gmail or Microsoft Outlook or Exchange, we'd really recommend that you use the single click options. It's really simple and straightforward. We do have the option for other provider right here. So this would typically be if you are using, maybe like Mailgun, SendGrid, anything that's not Gmail or a Microsoft product. Other provider will prompt you to manually enter your SMT host and port numbers. Um, Also, if you want to configure your email account for sending where maybe you want to send from one email address but get replies to another, you would use the other provider option as well. So I'm just going to hop into Gmail, single click, because that is what I use. I'm going to click continue. And I'm going to click on this email account right here. So when you click on the single click option, you will see a drop down or just a listing of all the email accounts that you have access to. And so once you select that email account, it's automatically going, I have to enter my password, and then it's automatically going to pull. Oh, well then.
Oh, well, this one, so you do require on the back end in your actual Google settings to turn on enable uh, access to less secure apps. Google considers everything that's not themselves a less secure app. And two-factor
Right.
authentication should be on just for security purposes as well.
Yeah. Well, I know I do. I have connected it before, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. But anyway, So I'm going to start over, but like I said, you kind of get the gist of it, right? Like you get that list of email accounts, click the email account. Once you enter your password or your in-app password, it's automatically going to connect. So you don't need to worry about adding your IMAP SMTP. It's going to pull all of that for you and connect the email account. So I'm just going to hop into my already connected email account just to show you those settings that I was talking about. So here under settings, we just have general settings right here. So your sender name, your email address, and then automatically it's going to default to Gmail API. You do have an option for SMTP. I would recommend Gmail API. It's just a smoother connection. It's a more effective and efficient connection there. So I'm going to hop into safety settings. So by default in reply, you can send up to 400 emails per day per email account. You'll see right here, I have mine set to 200. I would even recommend even lowering that to about 100 to 150. And the reason for this is just to maintain a good sending reputation. So it's all about deliverability here. So even if you want to send between 100 and 200 emails per day, we would recommend that you slowly kind of ramp up your sending. This is really important if you haven't sent higher volumes in the past, or if it's a new email account or a new email domain. So right here, you can see I have daily ramp up enabled. So I have my starting amount sent to 40 emails per day, which is what we typically recommend. And my ramp up value is 10 emails per day up to a maximum of 80. And then we also have a delay between each email that is sent. So this is based in seconds. So I'm just going to set a maximum delay here. Let's do. So I basically set it up to send 1.5 emails per minute. Again, this is a safety setting just to ensure optimal deliverability. So pay attention to these settings right here. Like I said, utilize the daily ramp up mode, utilize the delay in between each email sent. You can turn these off if you want, but it's really recommended that you do enable them and keep them on. So once you've enabled these settings, you can just hit save. And then also under email account settings, you also have, this is where you can implement your email signature. So this way, when you're creating a sequence, and Josh will show you when he's going through the step setup, you won't have to add your email signature to each step that you create. So it's automatically going to pull it from your email account settings right here. So as you can see, mine is very simple. I just have my name, my title, and then I have the company, and I have one hyperlink there. We recommend, again, in terms of deliverability best practices, that you keep it to 1 to 2 links in your email signature. If you want to add maybe a calendar link, that's fine. But I've actually seen email signatures where they have calendar link, their company website, their email address, their LinkedIn, their Twitter. That could run into issues where maybe your emails don't get delivered to an inbox. They may go to a promotions tab or maybe a junk folder. So keep it between 1 and 2 links, and you should be good to go there. And then you have your opt-out options here as well. So there are 2 options. So you can choose unsubscribe via plain text. There is nothing here right now. I actually deleted mine, but the default text that you would see is, if you don't want to hear from me anymore, please let me know. The way that it works is when emails get sent to your prospects, they will see that in the email. If they reply to you, if they say anything along the lines of unsubscribe, do not contact, remove me from your list, no, the platform will pick up on those keywords and will automatically mark them as opted out. If you do want to use a plain text option, we also have this option right here. It's called regenerate. So this will regenerate different types of opt-out text. So for example, you can see right here, to end these emails, simply reply, expressing your desire. You can regenerate it again. So the reason that we implemented this is because, you know, a lot of people were using very similar text for their opt-out. So we just thought we'd make it easy to kind of change it up and make it more random for you guys. We also have unsubscribe via opt-out link, and it's just the way that it sounds. Your prospects receive this in the email, want to opt out, please click here. They click unsubscribe, they're automatically opted out. Whichever one you choose, they do meet the requirements for, you know, CAN-SPAM legislation in the United States, for example, or even GDPR, which does state that, you know, opt-out requests need to be honored within 48 hours. So each one has you covered. You know, there are kind of pros and cons to each. The plain text option, absolutely, when you are creating these very like highly personalized emails, it does add to that personalization, because if you're creating an email where you want that contact to think that you know, sat there and typed it out just for them, if they scroll down and see an unsubscribe link, they're going to think, oh, this is part of a mailing list, right? So that does add to the personalization. We have found, though, that with the opt-out link, if you are sending higher volumes, the opt-out link tends to work better for deliverability. So those are your two options. Like I said, both are CAN-SPAM and GDPR compliant, so we should be good to go with whichever one you decide to use.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And then Josh, you're going to go through sequence creation. And guys, just to let you know, like as we kind of go through today's session, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them into the Q&A. We will, try to answer as many questions as we have live as we go through. We might kind of type some answers out. But the whole point of today is to really be interactive. And like I said, we want to get to all of your questions and make sure that when you guys leave today, you know exactly how to set up your accounts that are ready to go.
For sure. So yeah, I'll be going over the sequence creation, primarily focusing on the new AI features. The first thing that you'll notice is under the new sequence tab, we have 4 different options for you. This is a little bit of a treat for a future development, so we'll ignore that for now, but something to keep your eye on for a future release. But from template, we'll give you a list of reply curated options. These are all kind of ready to go sequences based on different use cases. They most likely will need heavy editing dependent on your specific kind of details, but they are a pretty good way of kind of getting up on the ground running and just allowing you to understand or should not be included in a sequence when you're building one on your own. We have from scratch, which most people should be familiar with, but this does look a little bit new. We've changed the wizard from several steps at the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen, so it's more kind of visible in your face. And we've kind of condensed those steps into 3 kind of concise options instead. But all of the items that were present before are still here, just looks a little bit different. For our sake, though, we're going to be looking at from Magic. And that's going to use JSON AI to take context details and a prompt of your choosing and kind of extrapolate those ideas into a fully functioning sequence. So very similar to the old school wizard type. I'm sure this will be updated in the near future as well. But all you really need to do is click the JSON AI button. And then first we want to hit improve prompt. We have a few options here. We can choose what kind of formality we want this email to sound like. Typically, I favor friendly. I'm always a big proponent of the conversational style of writing. So friendly tends to lend itself more towards that, but obviously depending on your use case, formal or even neutral are completely valid options. Then you can use a tone of voice. Witty can come across quite sarcastic, but depending on kind of what your own personality is, how you want this email to sound, any of these options are available to you. You can even try to put in a more custom tone of voice, though this one's a little bit more iffy because if you're not using the exact terminology that the AI is designed for, it could come up with interesting results. But let's try witty for now. And according to our best practices, we typically want to make the emails as concise as possible. Now I will just write in my prompt. I want to onboard my new clients to an email automation platform. Very vague, very basic, just one basic sentence. But let's see what this gives us. It may take a few moments.
While we're waiting, I love this feature because I feel like whenever I've used it, I'm always sitting there just kind of like, okay, what's going to happen? Because whenever I see the results, they're always like really great. So yeah, I'm just a bit nerdy that way.
Yeah, so like I only put in one very basic sentence. I didn't include any information about my actual company, but it's given me a pretty decent email. One thing I say always is the more detail and the more context that you can provide, the more robust the result you're going to actually receive. So if I had put in the title reply as the name of the email automation platform, if I had included feature sets that you can expect during the onboarding process. If I had included collateral for like attachments and things like that, it would mention all of these things in the email, just to help kind of just enrich that information and make the email that much more enticing. But all things considered, with one email or one sentence, it gave me a pretty solid starting point. And as Stephanie alluded to before, there is that regenerate option. So you can kind of go through different variations to see what fits your style at any given point.
I do love the last line though, just saying.
You buckle up, it's going to be a fun ride. Let's dive in and make magic happen. Yeah, so it's things like this that really are playing into the tone of voice that
Mhm.
you're selecting. And you can go back to that well at any point, and you're not locked into whatever the system gives you. You still have full manual control. You can make any edits that you'd like. So don't feel like you have to be beholden to the AI. They haven't taken over yet. You still have the final say. With that, we'll move on to the next step. This is again going to be pretty standard stuff. What it's doing right now is taking that first step and potentially extrapolating that into multiple follow-ups. The follow-ups are usually better, again, the more detail that you provide. If it does come up with any follow-up steps, they're going to be rather generic. We can see here. Yeah, so again, it's just taking my very basic prompt. I want to onboard my clients, and then giving me a starting point to continue building off of. And as again with best practices, it's going to give you a minimum of 3 steps. And we always recommend, for the most part, to keep the first few messages threaded together so it is foregone, including subject lines for these follow-up steps.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, like so as Josh was mentioning, when you thread those emails together, all you need to do is just leave the subject line blank for your follow-ups. It's automatically going to pull that original subject line. Um, and we're going to do a separate session, just pull like just dedicated to content best practices in a couple of weeks, but just a short tidbit. We do really recommend threading your emails together, or maybe even the first maybe 3 or 4 steps of the sequence together. It just makes it easier for your prospect when they get a follow-up email from you. They can just quickly scroll down and refer to maybe an email that you sent previously. It might kind of jog their memory, but also makes it easier for you as the person who is crafting the content to create your sequence in a way that you're building upon information that maybe you sent in a previous email. So, but like I said, we'll talk about content in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, there you go. The AI is also helping us. It knows what we're about to talk about,
Yeah.
even though it can't necessarily count.
Yeah. It needs to learn. It needs to learn.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, again, very basic prompt, next to no information, and this is a pretty solid sequence. But you'll also notice that there's a full JSON AI tab, so we'll get to that in a moment. Let me skip the contact bit here.
Just quickly, Josh, are you able to go back to contacts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could you just go back to contacts? So as you can see right here, there are multiple different ways that you can add contacts to your sequence. So you have import via CSV file, which is always best if you're doing like a bulk upload of contacts. Find prospects in data. So within your reply account, Josh is going to show you right now, you do have access to reply data, which helps you to search for prospects and contact information. Like Josh is doing right now, you can filter by location, industry, company size, and it's going to curate a list for you. And then you can just select those contacts and move them directly into your reply, save them into your reply account, or even move them to a sequence. And then also this evergreen mode that you're seeing right by the search bar, if you turn that toggle on, so that evergreen mode, what that does, it ensures that you constantly have contacts from data moving into your sequence. So you never have to worry about, oh, I only added 50 contacts, they're all finished, the sequence is done. We're going to continuously moving people into that sequence just based on the criteria that you used in that search filter right there.
Yeah, and so as long as you have credits available to use, and depending on which subscription plan that you're on, you'll have varying amounts. They do typically refresh on every billing cycle. Yeah, it'll just keep on funneling them into the connected sequence. And you can see here, it does not consume credits automatically on this default mode. You would have to select the individuals that meet the criteria most closely. And then once you hit add contact, it would then shift them into the sequence and consume the associated credits.
Yeah, and so yeah, so like I said, when you're adding contacts, you have the option to pull from reply data. You can upload via CSV. When you are uploading contacts from CSV, you just need to make sure that you are mapping out the proper fields. So you will see a pop-up once you add your CSV file. Oh, you're adding one now, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So you just need to make sure, like I said, that you are mapping out your CSV file fields to reply. So as you can see right here, some of them will populate automatically, like, reply knows to map out first name and email. And then you can map out anything else that you want to map. Typically, we recommend that when you are uploading your contacts, that as much information as you have, the better it is going to be. That way you can, filter out based on certain parameters, and it's just going to make it a lot easier for you.
Yeah, and it does. So as long as you're naming the fields in your CSV, or the names of the columns rather, the exact same naming convention, it should automatically relate. If I were to put just name instead of first name, this would be blank, but you can always just select whatever option is closest match. And in the case that you don't have a match, you can create a custom field, and then those will be available for you to kind of play around with in perpetuity moving forward. You'll also notice another preview. We've got persona-based opener, which we will talk about in a moment. That is another cool new AI feature that we've implemented.
And then the other two options here are to add from existing. So what that means is if you have contacts that are uploaded into your reply account, but maybe they're in another sequence or they haven't been assigned to a sequence yet, you can pull them over this way. You can just select from this list right here. And then we have create manually. So that is exactly like it sounds. You can just create your contacts manually. So this is a good option if, maybe you're not adding a lot of contacts consistently. So maybe every couple of days you're adding one or two contacts. Maybe it's just faster to manually type that information in than to, download and then upload a CSV file. So you do have quite a few options when it comes to uploading your contacts.
Absolutely. And yeah, right now, email and first name are mandatory, but we actually have in a testing phase right now an option to add contacts without email addresses. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can ask us and we can look to update that for you. Moving on.
Carrying on.
So here is the JSON AI section. So while the From Magic will create the sequence for you, the JSON AI tab is designed to help you keep up with the contact and the engagement that your contacts are displaying. So if you turn on handle replies, again, you have a window where you can implement different context modifiers, different answers to frequently asked questions, just generally useful information for the AI to utilize. And it will take the information that you add here and either respond to the incoming messages automatically, or it will queue up drafts for you in the inbox, which will allow you to kind of give them a once over, make any edits that you need to, and then send them out when you're prepared. The entire idea is to just smooth the automation experience and save you guys as much time as possible. So we recommend using the draft option to start with. And then if you feel that you're confident in the content that it's creating, it's giving reliable information for scheduling meetings or kind of reminding you to follow up later on, you can eventually shift into the automatic sends at a later date.
Yeah. And so Josh, earlier when you were showing like the JSON AI sequence prompts, and I was saying I get really excited waiting to see what it's going to create. I've been using these AI generated responses quite a bit. So when we rolled them out, I was using them quite a bit. So I use them with the draft option, but I will say that every time I go into my inbox, I am always pleasantly surprised by the quality of the replies that it does create.
Yeah, it's really useful, especially
Yeah,
for people
yeah,
that aren't familiar, like they're new to the cold email space. They're not sure how they should be responding. Using these AI features, while I wouldn't rely on them 100%, you always want to show a little bit of your personality. Again, trying to strike that conversational tone. Um, they really get you up and running really fast, and it's quite solid, the content it comes up with. And one of the best things about AI is that it tends to adapt to the best practices that are permeating the space. So as trends differ, the AI will automatically adapt, whereas a person doing it may not be up to date with all of the kind of best tips and tricks. So this is a good way to kind of just help keep yourself up to speed and then make any appropriate adjustments after the fact.
yeah. And just really quickly, you can also connect or provide a link to your calendar, for example. So you'll see right here. So inside Reply, we do have a calendar option, or if you're using something like a Calendly, anything outside of Reply, you can select other and then provide a link to those calendar links.
Yeah, so if I selected other and then I include the link here, or I were to even include the link up top in the key details option, it'll take whatever information is there. And then the reply option is just in the settings/meeting section. It does currently piggyback off of your Google Calendar specifically. There are no other alternatives at the moment. But it works in a very similar fashion to how, if you're familiar with Calendly, you can select windows where you want people to be able to book time, and then as people are taking up those slots, they're removed so that it doesn't double book you or anything like that. Moving on. We've got the more general settings. So these are very similar to the options that Stephanie spoke about earlier. You're going to choose the email address that you want this sequence to run out of. If you have multiple, you can connect multiple. Um, I only have the one sender address available in this particular account. But you can connect, I believe, up to 20 emails if you wanted to. And if you did have a LinkedIn account on your reply instance, you could also connect that and then automate any of your LinkedIn connection requests or messages and things like that. General settings, pretty standard. Max new daily contacts refers to step one specifically. So if you want to prioritize follow-up steps over new clients or potential clients rather, you can make those changes. Usually people will set this to about 100 and then the max number of emails per day will be set to the maximum. So the priority will be filtering through all of your follow-up steps while still trickling through a good number of new clients. This is also a good way to essentially cap how many conversations you can have going on in your inbox at any given time. And these numbers are adjustable at any point. So if you feel that emails are going out too slowly or too quickly, you can make the appropriate changes to kind of adapt to your particular flow. The delay between each email sent, this is a little bit of a redundant setting. The priority will go to the variable delay that Stephanie went over at the top of the call. This is, again, just another way to help kind of cement how much time has to pass between when we send multiple emails. Typically, you want to send around one email per minute to make it look as genuine as possible. If you were to send like 3 emails in the span of 60 seconds, email providers will probably take that a little bit poorly, which could result in deliverability issues and domain issues if it were to continue for a long period of time. Matching email providers is specifically useful if you have multiple sender addresses attached to the sequence and they're from different email providers. So for example, if I were to connect a Gmail account and an Outlook account, matching email providers would use the Gmail account to send my messages to Gmail users, where it would use the Outlook email to reach out to Outlook users. It does help with deliverability slightly, but for the most part, you don't necessarily need to use this if all of your emails are just under one umbrella. Opens tracking is on by default, so you typically don't have to touch this option at all. I only mention it here because some people will look at the enable link tracking and then get confused and toggle both of these on. This will turn click-through rate tracking on. This turns open tracking off. So just do keep that in mind if you're playing around with your analytics. and then max same domain contacts per day. Um, if you do turn this on, this is going to cap how many emails you can send one organization or a group from a domain. Typically, you want to do this to avoid kind of stepping on the toes of any active conversations you already have ongoing. For example, if I were to send like 10 emails to employees at reply.io, we're more than likely going to catch on to the fact that all of us are receiving the same content, which will make us less inclined to want to interact with anything that you have to say. So turning this on is a good way to help focus conversations and avoid just kind of stumbling out of the gate. By default, replies handling is always set to mark as finished, which means if someone does respond to you, regardless of the context, we will automatically mark those people as finished. They will not receive emails from that particular sequence moving forward. If you did want to use reply for more of a marketing or cyclical reminder type deal, you can continue processing steps regardless. This does not impact opt-outs. So if somebody does say, remove me from your list, I don't want to hear from you again, we will still abide by that. This just covers any other types of responses that aren't hard no's. And same thing with meetings. If you do want to continue sending reminders to people, regardless of whether they're booking some time with you, you can hit continue processing steps. And then again, you can make these changes to adapt to whatever you want your workflow to be, no matter how long the sequence has been engaged. This final option, the best practice around here is a little bit tricky. Typically, if somebody goes through all of the steps in your sequence, the system will wait 5 days if they have not responded to you in any way before marking them as finished. This is designed to give you a little bit of a buffer period because typically not everybody's going to respond immediately. So it allows some responses to come through at a later date. That being said, there is no hard and fast number that I can recommend because some people may be away for extended periods of time. And then they'll respond when they come back, maybe multiple weeks after the fact. So some people will set this to 999, for example, just so that there's always room for those responses to come in. Whereas other people will put or leave this at 5 or put it even to 1. The reason for that is if I go back to the sequences page, there is a progress bar that is purely dictated on the status of the contacts. So you can see here, it's only looking for finished contacts or active contacts. If you have that 999 delay at the end of your sequence, people that go through all of the steps but never respond to you will never technically be finished, and the progress bar will not complete. This can throw some people off. So typically leaving it at 5 is going to give you a better visual indicator of how far along people are in the actual sequence. But if you're just keeping your kind of inbox open to continue tracking those engagements, increasing the finished time is going to be in your best interest.
I have a comment slash question.
Yep.
One of the questions that we get a lot, and I know our support team gets it a lot, is, hey, I had 2 steps in my sequence. I went and added another step, but the emails are not being sent. So this kind of ties back to the setting that Josh is talking about right now. So if you have that setting, the default is set to 5. If all your contacts are marked as finished, if you add a step, that email will not automatically start going out. You would have to go to those finished prospects and manually mark them back to active. So if you're ever in maybe a scenario where you're thinking, hey, you know what, I have 2 really great steps. I know the content, I know what I want to send. I don't really know what I want to put in for the 3rd step yet. Maybe I'm going to add it later. That would be kind of an example of a time where you could go to that setting and maybe extend it. So if you extend it to maybe 30 days, you know that you have 30 days to go in, essentially add another step, and those emails will automatically start sending because those contacts will not be marked as finished, unless obviously they replied or opted out, for example. So just wanted to hop in there with that FAQ.
Yeah, so there's no hard and fast rule there. It is ultimately going to come down to how you want your sequence to kind of operate, what you're most comfortable with. But yeah, it does reference directly the status tags. So as
Mhm.
long as they're active, you can continue adding in new steps. But if they are finished, you do have to come in here, select the individual, and then you can use this option here to change their status. So you can either remove the finished status or add the active status. Either one will continue them in the sequence from where they left off. This also brings us to another cool AI feature that we've recently implemented, the personalized opener option. There's two ways that you can do this. The first is selecting the individual contacts, hitting the generate personalized one-line opener option, and then it's going to give you kind of a breakdown of how many contacts have been selected, how many AI credits will be consumed. These do cost extra. You may get a base amount depending on what subscription you've subscribed to, but typically these are a paid add-on. And then it will take information from the contact profile that you have in reply. So we can look at Stephanie's profile here. And it's going to look at things like the LinkedIn profile URL. It's going to look at the title. It's going to look at the company that they work at. The LinkedIn URL is required, and it does need to be a personal LinkedIn account. It can't be a general like app page or company
Like
page
the
or anything
company
like that.
page.
Yeah, it has to be a unique, dedicated individual link. If it's not there, the personalization simply won't do anything. But essentially, you can select the individuals that you want to personalize, click the button here, and then you can hit generate. Generate will create a variable that you can implement whenever you need to directly into any sequence moving forward. Generate and create sequence will push this person to a sequence with the variable automatically populated. They both generally do the same thing, though. This is just slightly easier if you're working with contacts that haven't been added to any sequences already. We've already done this for Stephanie, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom, a new variable will be created, and it's just going to give you a little bit of a one-liner. Again, as I mentioned with all the other AI features, the more information that you have, whether it be on the LinkedIn page or just in the profile here in reply, the more extensive this one-liner is going to be. So right now, it's just using the information that Stephanie works as a customer success manager, and then it also looked at some of her past work on LinkedIn to mention retail, and then it's just giving us a very general idea of, hey, let's hop on a call. We can discuss how to leverage your skills to drive more engagement. Again, this will be slightly different for every single person, depending on how much information there is. But this is a pretty good way to scale your outreach and make it more personalized, more unique. So, in addition to just sounding better from a recipient perspective, this is also going to help you vary your content to make it better deliverability wise long term. If you're sending the exact same messaging to hundreds to thousands of contacts over the course of months, email providers are going to clue into that and not only kind of potentially blacklist your domain, but they're also going to kind of um, throw some shade on the content itself. So if you were to try to use this with a new domain in the future, you're not going to have as positive results as you'd like. So varying up your content to any degree is always going to be a plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And to Josh's point, also personalizing, the more you can personalize those emails to your contacts, the better results you're going to see, the better engagement you're going to see. We like to think of it, like I said before, you want your prospects to think that you sat there and you wrote that email just for them. I was reading some posts and things like that about, cold emailing. This one kind of CEO, he kind of jumped into the discussion and he was saying, he's like, he deletes a lot of his cold emails because he gets these emails and there's no information as to, why they're reaching out to him.
Mhm.
There's no indication that they even really know who he is, aside from the fact that he's a person on a list, right? So again, the more you can personalize that content, the time that you put in before you kind of turn that sequence on and add your contacts, you're just going to get a lot more engagement there. So using these AI features to personalize and differentiate the content is going to go a long way. So we do have a couple questions. So Josh, I don't know if you wanted to show one more thing on Jason AI, and then maybe we can get to a couple questions that we have.
I just wanted to show you the other option
Okay.
where you can see the personalized openers.
Mhm.
These are here for our other calls about content best practices, so you can get a little sneak peek at those as well. But yeah, as long as you implement the variable, like for example, if I click on this other fake contact here, yeah, the variable isn't there, doesn't exist, it's missing. But if I go back to Stephanie, it's just sitting there ready and waiting. All right, yeah, we have some questions.
We have two questions. So we have a question from John. If contacts do reply, does that go to my main inbox or does that go to reply.io? So the answer is both. So if you have your Gmail or Outlook accounts connected, whichever account it is that you have connected, all responses will go to your Gmail inbox, for example. I work a lot out of my Gmail inbox, especially with my reply sequences. You will also see emails sent via reply in your sent folder in your Gmail account, for example. But they will also come into your inbox here in reply. And this is what Josh is showing you right now. So you do have access to a consolidated inbox right here. So you can see right here, you can narrow down by the channel. So we do offer LinkedIn automation as well as a paid add-on. So you can, filter out if you just want to see, email replies, LinkedIn replies. You can filter by user, which is Josh is doing right now. But if you go to the right, Josh, you can also filter by maybe I just want to look at replies from a specific sequence or specific sending email. One of the nice things about the inbox in reply is that it does categorize the emails, the replies based on that response. So again, we use AI to, read those replies and then categorize them based on, interested, not interested. Do not contact would obviously be anyone who has opted out, even, not now. So if someone does reply to you and say, hey, you know what, now's not a good time, maybe 3 months from now, we'd be looking for XYZ, it would be categorized that way. Josh, I think you have categorization turned off for your account.
I do, because I
Yeah.
use this for onboarding, so I'm responding to pretty much everything.
Everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't really make sense for me to use it, but for more like sales or marketing perspective, it's very useful to just have these automatically categorized for you, just so you know what to kind of prioritize when you are working in your inbox. Like for example, if I get a bunch of do not contacts or not nows, I can kind of leave those for the end of my day and then focus on the interested contacts where I'm going to have a higher conversion rate. Um, Even not interested is typically something that I would use in a sales kind of context, because again, going back to the kind of conversational style that I mentioned, and this is leaning a little bit into best practices, so I'll go into this much more in another call, but the goal is to try to make your emails sound like you're a real person. So if they're responding to you and saying, hey, this sounds really interesting, but it's just not for me at the moment. Thanks, but no thanks. They're engaging with you in a genuine, like human to human manner. So that's infinitely better than just a straight up no, stop emailing me. So you can actually take these not interested messages, respond to them, and try to turn them around, because you've already won like the conversation in the sense that they believe you are who you say you are. So you can now continue adding on value, maybe trying different tactics. You don't want to be too pushy, but you've made strides in the fact that they've actually engaged with you in some way. So don't take it as disheartening. Use that as a positive, and then you can make slight changes to your content to turn those not interested into positive engagement.
Yeah. And Josh, I'm not going to ask you to click into any of these replies because I know that these are customers that you are actively working with.
Yeah.
But so earlier, Josh was mentioning, we talked about the AI drafts with Jason AI to respond. And this is where you would find them. So if you were to go to your reply inbox, if Josh were to click on Erica, for example, so Erica replied to a message that he sent. Once he clicked on that thread, that's where he would see the AI generated option to respond with the AI draft. So that's where you would find it would be in your inbox. Yeah. All right. So we have another question.
Mhm.
What are the best practices for using AI personalization and automated sequences? Can I apply it to LinkedIn outreach in any way?
So the variable itself can be used in any context. So it's added directly to the contact record. So if you wanted to, let's actually go back to that step. I might actually not have a LinkedIn step in here. I
I
can,
don't think you do. I
I
think
do,
it's
I
all
do, I
email. Oh, you
do.
do? Okay.
If it was automatic, it's not going to allow me to do it for manual steps. Um, but if I change this to automatic and I pull up the variable menu, like I can still utilize this. So it's designed primarily for email, but it's generic enough to apply to kind of any opener. So if you wanted to use these in a LinkedIn setting, you absolutely could. There's nothing preventing you from doing so. Um, Typically, the way I will use LinkedIn is more of a kind of context setter. So I will use it at the beginning of my sequences and I'll view their profile or I'll send them a connection request. And all I really want to get out of this is for them to see my face and know that I am who I say I am. So when I email them later with all of the actual meat and potatoes of my value proposition, they're going to trust it a little bit more because they've already seen me. Whereas if I were to just blast out that cold email on its own, people will be a little bit more skeptical because they have no real reason to believe I am who I say I am. I can do what I say I can do. Obviously, I'm in a little bit of a unique case because people are coming to reply and expecting me to reach out to them. But in a cold sales perspective, getting a little bit of facial recognition, having your name pop up in a different scenario will help them understand that your intentions are legitimate. You're not trying to pull some scam or anything. Um, so I use LinkedIn that way, just as a way to set the stage for the rest of my sequence, rather than trying to get any actual engagement or profit out of it.
Hey, Josh, we don't have any questions right now, but we do have about 12 minutes left.
Hmm.
I can't believe we've already been here for 48 minutes. But so I talk to a lot of people who maybe are maybe not fully sold on AI right now. They're a bit hesitant about AI. Maybe they feel like it's too complicated for them to understand, whatever the case may be. Would you
Hmm.
be able to take maybe 5 minutes and maybe just walk through the scratch option with a sequence setup for our customers who just want to have like, full control over their content and things like that? Do you want to just take a few minutes to show them that?
Yeah, let's take a quick look there. Yeah, we do have the new UI, so that's fun. Go. So yeah, very similar to how we went through the contacts earlier in the From Magic setup. You have the same four options here. There isn't anything unique about this. You don't actually need to add contacts to a sequence right away. You can add them later on. So if you want to prioritize just getting your content right, you can skip this initial step and go straight into your sequence creation. The steps here has merged the actual template editor as well as the preview tab that I showed you that contained the completed variable options. But all you really need to do here is select the method of communication. Email is available to everyone. And then all of these other step types come in one of two combinations. Everyone has access to the free versions. Think of them as sticky notes. They are reminders to perform functions manually outside of reply. For calls in particular, though, you will get a kind of status update saying to call when people reach that particular stage. So if you want to incorporate a call reminder for your sales team, that's definitely viable and does come with a little bit of kind of additional functionality there. But things like SMS, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, if you're not using the paid versions, they are all just purely manual task reminders. For now, we'll just stick with email. Um, you have the option to run generic messages so you can come up with your own content. We do have a library of pre-rendered templates that you can use as well. Some of these do have variables that don't exist by default, but are useful as recommendations for information to bring in. Competitor would be the example that doesn't actually exist by default in our system, but it is a pretty good idea to consider. Mentioning competition will build a little bit of credibility to the value prop that you're kind of building here by name dropping other tools and directly comparing your feature set to theirs can kind of bring to light any advantages that your system has. Um, but yeah, you can create any variable that you'd like. It doesn't ultimately matter what it's called. As you begin typing out your content, this progress bar will populate. And if you click on that, this is a direct comparison between the content that you've created and other power users on reply. It does slant toward a sales-centric cold email focus. So the further away your use case is from that, the less applicable these are going to be. But we generally find that things like subject length, word count, and question count are pretty ubiquitous across the board. So those are the areas that I would recommend paying the most attention to. Things like reading level and positivity, while very important, are supplemental in nature and they can be quite tricky to nail 100% of the time. Reading level is going to fluctuate greatly depending on what your audience is. For example, if you're reaching out to a very technical crowd, you typically want to speak the same language as them. So your reading level is inherently going to be higher. If you try to dumb it down, they may not take you as seriously, so that would not necessarily be in your best interest. Positivity is very similar in that fashion. This is skewed towards how easily readable the message is and how kind of inviting the word choice is. If you were to randomly throw in words like happy or love, it would increase the positivity score, but that's not necessarily going to impact how likely someone is to want to engage with you, especially if it has nothing to do with what your actual value prop is or what your use case is.
It
So
might
there's
also
no,
be a very awkward email if you
yeah.
have love written 10 times in the email.
Yeah, exactly. Like I will use, I'd love to hop on a phone call with you and walk you through any issues that you're having. That's an easy way to increase your positivity score. But you don't want to repeat yourself over and over again because it doesn't read very well. And yeah, you're sacrificing readability for this arbitrary score. So general rule of thumb would be if you would respond to the message that you're crafting, you're probably on the right track. Lastly, here is the spam word count. This is a little bit of a misnomer. These words aren't necessarily going to get you into deliverability trouble. These are more often than not words that are so commonly used that we flagged them for you to allow you the opportunity to vary up the content, to differentiate yourself, try out different verbiage, make it stand out a little bit more. Call, for example, is the #1 CTA, call to action, in the world. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using it. You absolutely want to ask people to hop on calls with you if that's your primary target, but maybe worded in a different way. Love to have a quick chat. Sounds more conversational, less formal, and it's just a little bit more inviting. The word get is a filler word that is used in very many sentences. So there's nothing wrong with using it. So don't let this kind of throw you off and deter you from sending out specific content. Again, just a way to help uh, elevate the word choice, if you will. And then we also have the preview tab here. Again, very, very similar to what I was showing you previously. It's just going to give you an idea of what the message will look like in the context of an actual inbox. If the variable has information to be filled in, it's going to show you the filled in option up above. And in the event that you are missing the information, so for example, if I don't have company here, the contact will be marked as missing data, and they will not receive an email until you've either removed the variable from their preview or you've added information so that the variable can be filled in. They will never receive an email that says, I have an idea that I can explain in 10 minutes that can get company its next 100 best clients. If we can't fill it in, we automatically pause those people for you. We then have personalized options. So this is similar to what we were looking at with Stephanie's individual profile, but this can be kind of elaborated on a little bit more. You can actually choose the context that creates the prompt for you, but then it works in a very similar fashion. It's just going to create a new variable for you that you can then slot directly into your content to make it sound a little bit more unique for them. This also does consume those credits. Anytime you see these little stars, that does pull directly from your pool of AI credits. And if you,
I think we have about 4 minutes left.
absolutely. Well, yeah, this is, it's very similar to what we were just speaking about, just adding in those context details, and it's going to take what information you provide to just elaborate more and more on that, that variable for you. Once you're done with these steps, you can continue adding as many as you'd like. The final option is just the settings that we went over previously. So how many emails you can send per day, what email addresses are attached to that particular sequence, if you want the opens tracking turned on or off, things like that. So very similar, but just much more condensed and designed to help you guys kind of get to turning on your sequences that much faster.
All right, so we don't have any questions. I hope it's because we covered everything for you guys today, and we were so thorough that you don't have any questions.
Fingers crossed.
But like I said, Josh and I are going to be doing another session dedicated to content best practices. And we're really going to be focusing again on personalization, which we talked a bit about today. And then we're also going to do another session on deliverability. So we're running these sessions every couple of weeks. So, you'll get invitations from us, but always feel free to, jump in. Maybe you need a refresher because sometimes we have new features. I'm looking at the list of attendees and I see some customers that I've spoken to already that have been with us for a while. So yeah, it's always good to come in and get a refresher. But, if you have any questions, our support team is always available to help you via live chat or anyone on the client success team as well. So like I said, we're going to be sending this recording out to everyone who registered, and we'll also have it on our YouTube channel. And Josh, anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
I am surprised I didn't yawn that whole time.
I'm surprised you didn't either.
I'm holding one back right now.
All right, well, I guess it's the perfect time to let everyone go, but thanks everyone for joining, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Have a great one. Bye.